With everyone scrambling and speculating as to what setting Battlefield 2018 will be set in, I've been thinking, does the setting really matter? Can the setting of a game, whether historical, modern, or futuristic, really matter for a game like Battlefield? I've seen lots of people on all sides arguing why a certain setting would be good or bad. Some claiming that a World War II setting is overdone or too limiting, a modern shooter is too similar to other Battlefield games, or that a futuristic game would ruin the franchise like it did with Call of Duty. I can understand the reasoning behind each claim, but does it really matter? Just look at the early criticism of Battlefield 1 lacking content, with a lot of people blaming it on the setting. The game, as of right now, has about or even more weapons than Battlefield 3, yet no one complained about a lack of weapon variety or content in that game. Not to mention, we've seen a substantial amount of new Battlefield 1 maps to play on over the DLC cycle. Battlefield 1 does not lack content. It was how that content was released that made people form the opinions that they have now. The base game content would have been fine for people to consume until the next DLC that would hypothetically arrive in December or January. Unfortunately, thanks to some back-end issues at EA or DICE, we never really got an explanation. We had to wait 6 months for the first DLC to arrive. 6 months. 6 months is a lot of time for a user to try out the base game content. If you look at the content in the base game, you can see it wasn't made to last 6 months worth of playtime. I think if the DLC would have released a lot sooner and more on a regular basis, a lot of the content cries would have been more quiet. If anything, people would have been surprised to see how much content DICE added to a first-person shooter based in the First World War. In my opinion, I think a setting does not impact how well a game can be. For example, just because a game is set in Vietnam doesn't mean it can be good. Same thing goes for modern or futuristic. When I hear people say that they won't buy a game due to the setting and won't look past anything else, that's just stupid in my eyes. Only in extreme cases does the setting of a game impact its playability. For a game like Battlefield, having it set in the American Revolution would never work in a million years. But aside from that, the setting does not really impact on how well a game is. It's the balancing and mechanics in that game which determines whether or not the game is good. You can have a modern or futuristic shooter with all the creative freedom in the world to create anything you'd like. But if the game is flawed with horrible mechanics or severe balancing issues, it's still going to be a bad game. The setting of that game has no impact whatsoever on how well that game is received. And to be honest, it really comes down to personal preference. Some people like the gritty nature of the World Wars, some like using assault rifles and modern vehicles, and some enjoy complete sci-fi. As for myself, I personally hope that the next Battlefield game is World War II. But it could easily be something set in the future, we just don't know. And I'm not going to cry that just because a game is set in the future, it's immediately flawed. Everyone is different and unique when it comes to their taste and preferences, and you shouldn't try to force your opinions onto someone else, as your vision on the setting of a game may be right in your eyes, but it may seem overrated in another's. We know the next Battlefield game will be revealed or teased on May 23rd with the words, "Never be the same." This could mean that Battlefield will once again be taking a drastic and unexpected setting like Battlefield 1. But as long as the core game itself is solid, the setting doesn't really have much of an influence as to how good the game is. But at the end of the day, this is just my opinion. I'm sure some of you have your own wish list for Battlefield 2018 and your thoughts on game settings, so tell me about them in the comments down below. Make sure to share this video if you enjoyed and all that jazz, and as always, it's been BloodHound, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.